Sifu Raphael is the founder and host of Coaching Call, Heroes Rising, The Seer Show, and New Tip Daily. He works with individuals, groups, and businesses and helps them find clarity, purpose, and understanding of who they really are in business and personal life. Sifu Raphael has used his skills to develop a variety of multifaceted businesses in the martial arts and fitness industries. He owns and operates a 10,000 square foot martial arts and fitness facility in New York. Jose Escobar is an award-winning, nationally recognized personal development speaker, published author, and sales professional. He leads compelling, high-level communities consisting of entrepreneurs and advanced leaders through his two business models, the Entrepreneur's Bookshelf and the Connected Leaders Academy. He is also the co-host of Heroes Rising.
I am joined by my stand-in co-host, Jason Flame. Jason, I really, really, truly appreciate you taking the time to be here with us. And I always say you're just phenomenal, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for always thinking of me to fill in. I hope I can step into Jose's shoes and do a great job today.
You always do, man. You always do. Oh my gosh. When was the last time that you were surrounded by powerful women? Wait, let me rephrase. Your wife and your daughter. I know. But I mean, people who are outside of your family, two amazing women. Let's go ahead and bring them on. We have Regina and Deborah. Ladies, welcome to Heroes Rising. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much for asking, and I'm delighted to be here with you all. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm also doing wonderfully, and thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, and can't wait to get the conversation started and hear what everyone has to say.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a great show always. I am just so fortunate to be able to call all of you friends, right? So I want to introduce you guys to Regina. We just recently connected, by the way, Regina. I am loving the book. Thank you.
Great.
Speak up, stand out, and shine. So love it. And, as the CEO of Transform Your Performance, Regina Huber drives bold, value-driven, and heart-centered leadership of self and others. Her eclectic experience on 5 continents started in Germany and includes leadership positions at the Boston Consulting Group, as well as ownership of businesses in Argentina, Brazil, and the US. This experience shaped her into a multicultural transformational leadership coach, international inspirational speaker, and author of Speak Up and Stand Out. That's the book I just held up, by the way, and Shine. She also co-authored 3 other books and wrote numerous articles for magazines in the US, Africa, and where she has been featured by multiple media outlets. In 2021 and 22, she hosted her own TV show titled What's Your Spark? Regina, wow. Powerful stuff, my dear. We would love to hear the content that you're going to be sharing with us today.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. I appreciate that so much. And I'm going to start with a bold statement. Self-leadership is the most essential leadership trait of all. It's the prerequisite for authentic, sustainably effective leadership. It's the foundation for everything leadership, in my opinion. All leadership starts with self. Think about this. How would we be able to authentically and effectively lead others if we don't even know how to lead ourselves? How would we lead teams, organizations, communities, and implement authentic, value-driven leadership if we don't even know how to lead ourselves? There is no way. The thing with self-leadership is, as I have observed, that most people know what it should look like, right? So, but self-leadership knowledge is not real knowledge if it's not implemented. Knowing what we should be doing is not valuable if we don't actually do it. So if we preach a certain behavior, for example, if we want to inspire our team to communicate in a transparent way, but we don't do it ourselves, then it's going to be hard to achieve this unless they are self-motivated to be transparent, of course. They are certainly not going to do it because we led them to do it. As you know, self-awareness is the foundation of self-leadership. Because how can we lead ourselves and be authentic as leaders if we don't even know ourselves? How can we project who we are through our leadership presence if we don't even know who we are? And how could we possibly understand others if we don't even understand ourselves? The deeper we dig with self-awareness, and this has been my own experience as well, the easier it becomes to understand others as we now are just becoming more aware of the complexities of who we are as human beings, each of us. And as we learn to be more compassionate with ourselves by understanding ourselves better, it's also easier to be compassionate with others. In order to gain self-awareness, we need to go on a journey of self-discovery. This journey consists of a lot of different things like self-observation, self-reflection, introspection, but also observing how we are perceived and proactively asking for feedback. Now, self-discovery can, of course, be scary because it requires us to be honest with ourselves, to be vulnerable. As part of this self-discovery process, we are challenged to admit our fears and to address them. We examine our emotions and our triggers and how we manage them, and we analyze how we react to certain situations. And we might not always like what we see. And we'll have to admit that there are things about ourselves that are not perfect at all and that we might not like. Taking a close look at who we really are and how we are perceived by others takes guts. It takes courage. It takes honesty, but it's so worth it because I believe that self-awareness is an empowered state. I sometimes even call it empowered vulnerability. So in my work, I talk a lot about distinctive uniqueness. It's one of 4 pillars of my powerful leadership transformation framework. The powerful leadership transformation is one of 2 frameworks, leadership frameworks, I should say, that I have created. And it's very much focused on self-leadership. So it's really for everyone, whether you're in a leadership role or not, because we all need to lead ourselves and our careers or businesses, and we all need to lead something in our lives, right? And once you master the principles of the powerful leadership transformation, you can then also pass it on to your team. And it'll help you level up your leadership of others as well. Anyway, back to distinctive uniqueness. There are 2 sides to it, like a coin, right? One side of the coin is the strength side, and the other one is the shortcoming side. Self-awareness is about both. Our strengths, skills, talents, competences, anything that flows into what I call our unique brilliance. That's on the one side of the coin. And then on the other side, we have the shortcomings, weaknesses, areas for development. We want to look at both as part of our self-discovery process, the good and the ugly, or the missing. So self-awareness implies knowing my strengths. What is my unique brilliance and genius made of? And being aware of my shortcomings at the same time as well. Knowing how my experiences have shaped me into who I am today so that I can potentially also share some inspiration through them. Being aware of this, aware, of the stories that I'm telling myself about myself and others, being aware of my inner narrative, my beliefs, my thought patterns, behavioral patterns, my biases, prejudices, all that stuff, right? My beliefs can support me or they can debilitate me in my leadership. They can improve my leadership or hinder it, depending on what they are. So we better be aware of them. We all have empowering and disempowering beliefs, as you know. So it's not about getting rid of it all at the same time. I think nobody would be able to do that. It's more like recognizing that building a self-empowering mindset is a process, and it requires awareness. It's important also to be aware of my triggers. This has to do with my emotional intelligence. As a leader, that's triply important. When we're more aware, when we can direct our attitude and our behavior and our words in a better way, more consciously, react less and respond more, be less impulsive and more conscious and mindful. I want to be aware of my values, especially my core values. Right? One of my core values is integrity, and it's what's led me along in my life. I share a lot about this core value in my talks. And then it's also a good idea to reflect on how are these core values aligned with the work I do, with my leadership? How are they reflected in the work I do and in my leadership? And what's the impact of my behavior on others? How are they perceiving my behavior? Is there a gap between my own perception of myself and other people's perception, maybe? So all of this and much more, I could go on and on about this, has to do with our presence as well as leaders. What does our leader presence convey? Does it convey confidence, honesty, sincerity, credibility, transparency, vision, enthusiasm? All the good stuff, as I call it? Or does it rather convey insecurity, lack of vision, lack of honesty or credibility, self-centeredness, maybe? One of the centerpieces of leadership is building trust. It's really important to realize whether we come across as authentic and trustworthy. Is our presence giving our team or other stakeholders reason to trust us? Are we able to establish a human connection through our presence? Our presence is a complex structure of a myriad of things. Our appearance, words, language, body language, energy, voice, attitude, you name it. What's also important to remember is that when we speak and our energy and our body language contradict our words, then the message that our energy or body language transmits usually wins. Our nonverbal communication takes precedence over our words. Our body language gives us away when we're not sincere. We come across as inauthentic. And all of this together constitutes our unique leader presence. Even our attitude shines through our presence. So it's key to align all the elements of our presence, being aware of it all. Leadership is a holistic phenomenon. It's not just about who we are in our leadership role or position, like as a team leader, but about who we are in life. That's why authenticity is so important. And as leaders, we want to show up as the best version of who we are. And sometimes that needs some fine tuning, which is not to be confused with perfectionism, of course. So the question we may want to ask ourselves is, are we getting the desired result as leaders? Are our team members engaged? Are they happy? And that's why I created a second leadership framework, which is with this exact intention of building exactly that, more engaged and happier teams. And it is called New Paradigm Leadership, because I believe that we need a new paradigm in leadership, a paradigm shift. For those who want to learn more about it, there's also an article in my LinkedIn Career Growth Strategies newsletter. We can't go into all the details here today. I know other people want to share their work as well, and we only have an hour together. But I'd like for everyone to walk away with this one central idea. Leadership always starts with self. Self-leadership is the most critical leadership trait. If you master self-leadership and your leader presence, which is a part of it, then the rest becomes way easier, and you will navigate through your daily leadership challenges much more smoothly. Promise.
Wow. Powerful stuff. I got to tell you, Regina, every time we've had a conversation or I listen to you speak, I am drawn in. You spoke, I think you were talking to me, by the way. Right. And I think
Probably all
everybody
of us.
else feels the same way, right? Powerful stuff. Thank you so much for sharing. And I really
Thank you
appreciate you
for
being here with
allowing me.
us.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Well, thank you again, Regina. That was amazing. As a martial artist who has been an instructor for over 30 years, these are all things that I want my students to hear, and a good reminder for me on to continue teaching these things to our students, because we need more leaders. We need more people to be able to lead by example. So thank you for sharing all of that. It was great to hear from you today. I would like to take a minute to introduce Sifu Raphael, who is the founder of Heroes Rising, which is this show and 4 other unique shows which are done live. He's a fitness professional, solutions expert, executive coach, and head instructor at Max Martial Arts and Fitness in New York. Sifu Raphael's purpose is to unite like-minded individuals to create new possibilities and impact the world we live in. Sifu Raphael believes that we can all change the world. Most importantly, we need to start with ourselves, and then we can help others. You're up, Sifu.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you for that introduction. You know, one of the things that always triggers me when I hear someone speak or when I hear somebody talk about their dreams, and then I come up with 2 questions that I also ask myself consistently. And these questions are pretty simple. I ask them to myself, I ask them to my clients. I do this often. And these are the questions. Now what? What's your purpose? These seemingly super simple questions carry a profound significance in our journey through life. No matter where you are in life, if you ask yourself those 2 questions, they will help you tons. What now, and what's your purpose? So today, I'm not just the host and the speaker here on this event, on this incredible show that I'm super thrilled that everyone is watching and following and sharing, but I'm here as just Raphael. I'm just like you. I'm someone who has embarked on a quest to uncover. I've looked everywhere, to be honest with you, for the answers to these simple questions. And I'm here to inspire you to do the same, to encourage you to do this every day. Do the same thing. Ask yourself, think about it. Life is a series of now whats, a now what moment. You achieve a goal, you complete a project, or you overcome an obstacle, and then you stand there at the crossroads of the possibilities. You need to ask yourself, now what? It's in these moments of transition that we have the opportunity to shape our destinies, to discover our purpose. It is not just a destination. I want to share that with you. It is not just a destination. It's an ongoing adventure. Look at it that way. It's an adventure. It's a process of self-discovery. Every day should be self-discovery, growth, and you need to adapt every day. It's about aligning your actions with your values, your passions, and it's not always linear when we head in that direction. It is not a linear path. I've walked this path many times with the certainty of a well-marked trail, but with courage to explore the uncharted territories of my own potential, my own fears, if you will, uncertainty. But you need to continue once you know your purpose. This is why we need to ask, what now? What sets us apart as exceptional individuals is not the answers we find, but the relentless pursuit of these questions. You have to ask them day in, day out. It's the ability to stand in the face of uncertainty and say, now what? With excitement rather than fear. Don't get me wrong, it's okay to have trepidations. It's okay to have butterflies. Just make them fly in formation. So each now what moment is a blank canvas. It's waiting for you to paint your aspirations, your dreams, your purpose. And this is the most important one, your legacy. Don't be afraid to dream big. Remember, small dreams give you small results. Dream big. Dream bigger than you could possibly imagine. Think about some of the people who have made huge contributions to our world. If they dreamt small, we may not have heard of them. Yet we may never have been able to take advantage of their dreams. But don't be discouraged by the challenges that lie ahead. Instead, embrace them as opportunities for growth and transformation. So let me ask you, what's your purpose? It may be to inspire others, to make a difference in your community, to excel in your chosen field. It doesn't matter what you do for a living, but can you excel in it? And if you're not happy there, find out, what now? How can I move forward? Have a dream. It could be a combination of these things or something entirely unique to you, to your purpose. You need to find out what your purpose is and your reflections and your passions, your values, and the impact you want to make in this beautiful, beautiful world we live in. As Raphael, I've found my purpose in empowering others through martial arts, coaching, and mentoring with all the teachings, the discipline, the resilience, and self-reliance and confidence. But remember, your purpose is not confined by a specific role or title. It's a guiding force that infuses meaning into everything you do. I mean, everything. So allow me to encourage you to embrace the now what moments in your life with open arms and an open heart. Let them fuel your determination and inspire you to be exceptional in your pursuit of your purpose and your now what. Remember, it's not about having the answers. It's about the journey, the growth, and the impact you create along the way. So stand tall, face the unknown, and boldly declare, now what? My purpose awaits, and I'm ready to shape my destiny. When you ask, now what? You may not find the answers right away. That's okay. Keep going, keep seeking, and you will find the answers that fill your every day. So I ask you all, now what? Now what? Thank you. Thank you for letting me share this now what moment with you guys. I would love to, and I always want to know, I'm so curious as to your now what. So I'm going to take a second before you introduce everybody else. We're going to introduce Deborah. we are here today together. So Jason, I know I'm going to introduce you, but what's your now what? What are you going to do? Deborah, what are you going to do? Regina, what are you going to do? What is your now what? Because that will determine your next actions, don't they? I'm asking.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you on the show, and those of you that are watching live. I'm just feeling this such a sense of calm right now. And after listening to Raphael, I'm like, keep talking, keep going. As you were talking, as a martial artist, I've earned my black belt. Now what? What am I going to learn next? I've been in the professional wrestling world and won titles and so on and so forth. What am I going to do next? And I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to continue leading the generation of martial artists that are in our school and my own children, as Regina talked about earlier, to become stronger leaders and to help those leaders make the changes and teach the next generation of leaders. Mm-hmm. So I think that, that's my now what. I want to continue to teach leaders and create leaders in our school and in our community and make a bigger impact rather than doing it myself, creating and helping other people to make an even bigger impact in the world.
Beautiful. I love it. Keep doing it, my friend. Keep doing it.
Thank you.
Regina?
Yes, so I think, for me, it's twofold right now. I have gone through those now what moments many times in my life. I've moved a lot. My life has always been one of movement and adventure. And I'm currently in France and I'm just figuring out the now what again. And, so for me, it's oftentimes personally a lot about location change, about whether it's temporary or more longer term, but it's also about the question that I like to add to yours. Actually, that what do I really want? And I ask that same question my clients too, because I think that also gives us additional clarity to the now what. And when it comes to my work right now, what I really want to work on in a very focused way, although I don't have all the house figured out yet, is the paradigm shifts in leadership. So really just bringing different ideas. I know nothing is really completely new. We channel all these beautiful ideas that are out there in the collective conscious and unconscious, but we can make an effort to bring the right ideas into our work and to put them together into a meaningful package.
Beautiful, beautiful. Deborah, I'd love to hear your now what.
Yeah, so I'm in a time of transition now with some family changes, child going off to college and all that kind of thing. So this is now what has been my question I've been asking myself, especially over the past 12 months, because I wanted to be prepared for when this time came. And I'm realizing, well, having this conversation, I've realized that writing is really about a form of leadership and perhaps self-leadership. But when we write, we get our ideas out there. We're able to have more impact, which is what a lot of people tell me they want when it comes to their books and their writing. And that allows us to show up in the world in a new way. And so to a certain extent, I'm doing the same by, I'm writing a novel, which is new for me and not something I've done before. So it's all very new and I'm learning what to do as I go along, which is really fun. So I'm just focused on I'm enjoying the process. And I'm not too worried about the outcome at this point, but I'm just trying to learn what to do. And I think just dwelling in that space of being okay, learning what to do without thinking about am I going to win this award? Am I going to speak on a stage here? Am I going to become a professor at some school? So not thinking about any of that kind of thing, but just thinking about the book, just the story, make sure it's strong. So that feels really good to me. And then just continuing to help people. I'm making some slight shifts to my business that will be more visible to me, probably to anyone else. But those shifts will allow me to help work on that particular now what project.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Great stuff.
Well, thank you guys all for sharing your now what. And Sifu, thank you for that amazing presentation. I would like to now introduce Deborah Ager, who MFA is a nonfiction book editor and collaborator, author, founder of an international magazine, and virtual presenter. She led successful marketing and website programs for the National Institutes of Health, Lockheed Martin, American Red Cross, and U.S. General Accountability Office. Her poetry and nonfiction has been widely published, including The Tablet, Narratively, and Modern Loss. The presses Macmillan, Oxford University Press, and Pearson have published her writing in academic texts. After she wrote a food-related nonfiction article, TV chef Chris Kimball invited her to appear on Milk Street Radio to discuss the topic. She founded Radiant Media Labs, a book coaching business, because she believes in serving those who aim to improve society with her message. Deborah, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm really excited to share with you today, for anyone who's interested in writing a book, whether you're just sort of thinking about it on the edges or you're all in and ready to go on the idea, was to share this idea about how you can author an anti-boring book. That's what I call it, because a lot of people have come to me and said, I really don't want to be boring. I don't want to write a boring book. I don't want to write a book like someone else. Or their what I call mean brain voices, or their judge has popped up and asked them questions like, who are you to write a book? Does the world really need another book on XYZ topic? And so on. So if you've had those kinds of voices in your head asking you these questions, you are not alone, because a lot of us do have these voices in our head from time to time, at least, that try to get us to stay small. And as Sifu Raphael said earlier, I wrote this down, small dreams give you small results. So what we want to do with your book, what I call a dream book, is to think big about your book and think in terms of how is it going to serve your audience. So I'm going to talk to you first about the 3 stages to publish your book. There's 3 stages that I've defined in this whole process to becoming a published author. The first one is clarify, and clarify includes, I'm going to see if I can present my screen here. Let's see. I can share my screen. Well, I don't know if I can. So I'm going to just talk about it. So in the clarify stage, we're figuring out who is your audience specifically, not just that they're, not just gender or where they live in the country or their age, but we're really getting into how they think about the problems they have. And we're diving in deep to the questions that they have about your topic, to what they need to know, to what they would find entertaining, and so on. We also want to focus on what they don't even know they don't know, or in psychological language, cognitive blindness, to be sure that we're covering all the topics that they need to know about so that they can go forward and experience a transformation. And that transformation and figuring out the transformation for the reader as they read your book is very important. So I'll talk more about that later on. The second stage of the book is what I call storify. It's a word that I made up, or at least I think I did, but I've also seen it out there. So maybe other people use it and it's actually a word. I don't know. But anyway, storify is when you focus on your content and the compelling and striking stories that you're going to include in your book. These stories, there's 3 different types of stories that we generally include in a lot of nonfiction books. Sometimes there's only 2, but I'm going to share all 3 with you just so you know what they are. The first one is our personal story and how we got into this work. I work with a lot of leaders, people who have a deep area of expertise in what they've been doing. They've usually been in their work for 20, 25 years or so they really know their stuff. We definitely want, in those cases, to have that personal story in there so people understand why you care about this topic and, what brought you to help others with this topic. They have to understand you care so that they feel comfortable and they feel ready to read what you have to say. The other type of story we need are what I call case study stories. So if it applies to your book, this is the one that doesn't apply to every kind of book, but if it applies to your book and you've helped people in some way, being able to illustrate that and demonstrate it to people in your book is very important, because what will happen is your readers will begin to see themselves in those shoes, and they'll begin to see that, well, this person had the change, so I can see that it would be possible for me too, because we had the same issues, we had the same questions, we had the same problems. That can really make a reader feel understood by the writing in your book. And the third kind of story would be what I call other people's stories. That would be not yours, not a client's story, but perhaps stories that you've learned about in your research, or it could be even about a celebrity in your field. Like one of my recent clients used a celebrity story tripping over her dress to talk about a certain concept that she was sharing in her book. And it was sort of a funny story. It added some lightness, but it was also teaching people something at the same time. So the third stage of writing your book, so we've been through clarify and storify, and the third one is amplify. And amplify is about the final steps that we're taking to be able to get the book out to the wider world. And that includes polishing everything that's been written so far. At the end of storify, you usually have draft 1 done. And so in amplify, we are polishing that draft. We are looking at the different elements that are necessary for you to be able to take this book out to the greater world. We figure out what types of publishing would serve you best if we haven't already done that. We look at your bio, your back jacket copy, and all that kind of thing that is necessary to be able to share your book with the world. So again, clarify, storify, and amplify. Those 3 stages will really help you. I have a dream book launch checker. So if you want to get access to that, I do talk about it frequently on LinkedIn. So you can feel free to find it there in my LinkedIn profile. And that is a free quiz, which only takes 3 minutes. And it helps you assess where you are in publishing your book. And then at the end, it gives you some solid next steps that you can take based on the answers that you supplied. So the answers are tailored to your situation. So the audience first approach is something that we focus on a lot in that first clarify stage. And we are using some principles that are also used in, say, design thinking, if you're familiar with that term. But basically, we are empathizing with the audience. We're getting more familiar with what they need to know. And then we're designing the book. I don't mean pictures. I don't mean what the words look like, but I mean designing the content of the book. And then we're going to look at the different pieces of content that we're considering. We're going to then go back to the audience and make sure that that content is really going to satisfy what they need to know and is going to help them make that transformation that they need to make in order for your book to be considered useful, beneficial, and even successful in their eyes. So that's a lot of what the audience first approach is about. If you're not familiar, a lot of the people I work with are familiar with their audience and with the issues and problems that that audience is facing, but sometimes it's worth it to have conversations with 3 to 5 people who you would consider your target audience, so to speak. And then sometimes you do get some more information that you can use in this process. And when I'm working with clients, I have worksheets that I give them, and they provide a lot of they answer a lot of questions that help get more of the ideas out of their head for what the content should be and what it is that that audience member needs to know in order to experience the transformation that the book is promising to give. So, hang on 1 second here. Okay, great. So a lot of times people ask me, what are the 3 types of publishing? And, they sort of have, they're just sort of a little bit confused about what they can do. So I'm just going to briefly share the 3 different types of publishing as I see them. And then it will give you an idea of what to expect. And when I'm working with clients, it doesn't matter to me what path they choose. I'm supportive of all paths that anyone chooses. What I like to do for people, since I am impartial, is just to let them know what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of each path, because I think it's important for an author to make this important decision on their own and not just to choose a path because that's what I think or something like that. So the first one is self-publishing, which is a very popular path forward. A lot of people do that. The benefits of it are that you can be on your own timeline. You have a lot of creative control over the project. The downside is that you'll be paying for pretty much everything, the design, the editing, and everything like that. So that's just a quick summary of the pluses and minuses. The second path is what I call traditional or New York style publishing, but it would be trying to publish with a big 5 publisher, one of the big publishers in New York. And a lot of people want to choose this path because they think the publisher will do all the marketing for them. However, publishers don't really do that anymore. So you have to find different reasons. If you really want to go down that path, I would suggest thinking through what else do I want from this situation? There might be other elements that you find useful that they provide help with. Sometimes they'll do a little bit of publicity for you. They'll do the design for you. You won't have to pay for it. Those are some of the advantages. And then the third one is what I call a hybrid. There are hybrid publishers out there where you do have to pay for it, but they take a lot of the work off your plate, and it can be quite expensive. That's a downside. But on the upside is if the expense is not an issue for you, then you have someone who's doing a lot of that work for you, and you know that they're also going to market it for you as well. So no matter which path you take, it's almost like you're going to have to spend time marketing in some way. So that's something that's really good to know going forward. And what I usually tell business owners is just weave it into the marketing that you do for your business anyway. If you have a podcast, mention it there. If you have an email list, mention it there. So you can just weave it into what you already have, and you don't have to have some kind of expensive, overpriced campaign to get the word out about your book. People also ask me, how do I find time to write? Because I'm so busy, I have no time to write a book. Well, I'll gently say, if you really have no time to write a book, then you can believe yourself and just don't do it. Sometimes when I say that, people are like, wait, what? And it kind of shocks them into realizing that, okay, maybe they do actually have some time, but they were just feeling overwhelmed. So that's just something to ask yourself and play around with that idea. See if you really do have the time to work on a book. Also explore whether, if you're saying that, maybe you just don't want to write a book, and that's fine too, and that's a valid answer. So playing around with that question can help you see what you truly want to do going forward. Now, when people work with me, I don't push them all into doing the exact same thing, because everyone's brain is so different. Everybody's preferences are so different. So what I suggest for figuring out time to write is, some people are marathoners and they say, I want to take a Saturday, get my family out of the house, and I'm just going to write all day long. Or they go to a hotel for the day, or they stay over a weekend and they get a lot done in that weekend. Other people doing it that marathon way would just drive them bananas. They are more slow and steady people. They want to do an hour a day, 2 hours a day, and they want to get the project done bit by bit. So I would think about those two different kinds of paths forward. And there's some in between that you can find as well. But think about those two drastically different paths and see which one appeals to you the most. And then you can begin to craft a schedule that's going to work for you. But if you're someone who's a slow and steady and you try to be a marathoner, or vice versa, you're going to be trying to force yourself into something that really isn't you and isn't going to work. And so after seeing this I've worked with people for 7 years on books, on nonfiction books. And so that's why now I make sure people find the path that's really going to work the best for them. So a question you can ask yourself is now the time to write a book? It's a really important question. Do you have the time in your life? Do you have the desire to do it? And everything that Sifu Raphael said earlier in this program applies here. Asking, now what? If your answer involves a book, that's a good sign that maybe you're ready to do it. And also thinking about your purpose, I think, is so important. When he was talking about those questions, I was thinking this applies so much to writing a book. If part of your purpose and your mission is to get your idea out there, and a book can help you do that and serve more people, then it's probably a good idea. And if it's something that you want to do, it's probably a good idea. But if you don't want to do any of that, it's fine. Like, no pressure on anyone. Not everybody in the world has to have a book. So let's see here. I have one action step for you guys to do, is to write down the transformation that you want your reader to have. Right? They enter your book one way and they're going to exit it being a slightly different person. So how do you want them to be different? And what do you want to bring them? Is it confidence, security, inspiration, something else? If you answer that question, it's going to take you a long way to being able to build a book that people love. Thank you.
That was powerful. I got to tell you, I love that last part of, and a lot of people write a book because they've been told to write a book, but I love what you just said, which was, how do you want your reader to be once they've put the book down? What's their experience like? Because that will allow them to share your book, to tell others about it. But if they put a book down, they go, oh yeah, whatever, next book, then did you do your job? So thank you for that. That was great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, somebody, man, steps in, does the right thing all the time, anytime. He is a chameleon. Yes, Jason, I am talking about you, my friend. You are an
I'm turning red.
exceptional. Yeah, see, you're matching perfectly. Jason Flame, he is the owner of Moore Park Karate and Krav Maga in Moore Park, California. He is a 7th degree black belt in American Tang Soo Do and also holds black belts in Krav Maga, Kitsugo Jiu-Jitsu, and Combat Hapkido. He has served as a martial arts business consultant, and that's where we met, you and I.
Mhm.
Since 2010, Master Flame pursued his childhood dream. This is it. Don't just think about your dreams. You have to pursue them like he did to become a professional wrestler. And at the age of 38, bam, he actively wrestled for a millennium pro wrestling from 2013 to 2019. I think you've been wrestling longer than that. Becoming a Triple Crown champion, Jason is an active member of his community and serves on the board of directors for several local organizations and community events. Recently, Jason and his wife, Jackie, have become partners in Country Harvest Restaurant and Coach's Old Fashioned Ice Cream. Man, can I get some now? Jason is also the host of Master Motivation Podcast, a great podcast that he does live as well. And he was doing it before this one. So thank you for being here, Jason. As an active community member, he attributes the success of his businesses to understanding the importance of giving back to those in his community. And I am grateful that you're part of my community, Jason.
Well, thank you, Raphael. You make it sound so good when you read it like that. I love it. Well, thank you for the great introduction, and I'm just happy to be here. Happy to be asked to be here and to have the opportunity to listen to Deborah and Regina today. Thank you so much for both of your presentations. They were very inspiring. And so I want to talk about something that I get to talk about when a new student comes in to our martial arts school. When a new student comes into our martial arts school, one of the first things that we do is we get them excited about learning how to become successful in what they're about to do. And we do this through a board breaking exercise. So I want to go through the 4 steps of what we teach them and the 4 words that we talk about when it comes to breaking a board, being successful in martial arts, and being successful in all areas of your life. So the first thing that we talk about is that a student has to have confidence. Now, I mean the confidence of trying something new. Most students that come to the martial arts school are a little bit nervous, have a little bit of hesitation, whether they're 3 years old or they're 33 years old or they're 63 years old, everybody coming in for their first class. So just to have the confidence to get started is that first step to success. Number 2, I talk about having focus. We've talked a lot about goals and our now what, but focusing on what we want to achieve. This is a great time for us to talk with the parents too about what do they want to focus on for their child? What do they want to focus on to get through their martial arts training? But, focus can apply in everything that we're doing. If we're going to sit down and we're going to write a book, we have to take the steps that we've been given before to have that focus, to have that understanding of what kind of vision and what kind of transformation we want people to have when they finish reading that book, right? So we have to help them to have that focus. Number 3, we talk about the discipline, right? Everybody has motivation to start something new, but I remind students that, listen, when you come in, there's going to be times where you don't want to go to class, just like we don't want to go work out. We don't want to, we don't want to do certain things, but we have the discipline in our systems and through our daily habits that help us to move forward towards our goals and towards future success. And the 4th thing that I talk about is commitment, is you have to have absolute commitment to your goal. In martial arts, you're not going to learn everything you need to learn in a class, a day, a month, a year. It's going to take a long time to be good or proficient in martial arts, or to be a writer, or to be a leader, right? We have to have that commitment. So the way that I explain it is I show the child the board and I say, I want you to believe. I want you to tell me, I believe I can break this board, right? I can do it. I want to make sure they understand how important I can is in everything they do, because that's the first step. Second thing is I tell them, listen, I'm going to hold the board and I want you to aim right in the middle and I want you to go through the board. I want you to focus all the way through the board rather than looking at the front of the board and looking at the obstacle in front of you. I want you to see yourself going through this obstacle and having a breakthrough moment. Then I tell them that you got to have discipline, because everything that I've talked about with this child, every lesson that we've learned, you have to have the discipline to be able to remember those 3 steps to be able to break the board. And I also remind them that discipline is doing what you know you're supposed to do without being reminded, right? I often talk to them about cleaning their room and doing their homework, right? Adults, you got to go to the gym, even when nobody is supporting you and nobody is cheering for you and nobody's liking your picture on Facebook. You got to have the discipline to just keep going back. And again, there's going to be times where you don't want to do it, but you're going to power through. And number 3, I said commitment. When you're breaking a board for the first time, if you attempt to break this board and it doesn't break, you're going to have to try again. And you're going to have to keep trying until you can overcome that obstacle. Just like in life, many times we set out and we have the confidence to start something new and we're all excited. We have this vision, we have this focus, and then maybe our discipline wanes a little bit and we fall short. Well, all we have to do is go right back to the beginning, go right back to the top. Start with that confidence, have that focus and vision, and remind ourselves of that. Create the habits that give us the discipline to move us one step forward, one step closer to what our goal is. And the commitment is in overcoming that board and coming to the next class, right? Sifu said, now what? You broke a board. Now what? Well, now it's time to come to your next class. And now what? It's time to earn your next stripe on your belt. And now what? It's time to earn your next belt. And when you continue that process of those small accomplishments, added up over time, get bigger and bigger. And that's what leads us to earning a black belt in martial arts. That's what helps us to be successful. And so I like to just share this with you, because this can be breaking a board. This could be writing that book. This could be starting that podcast. I remember when I started my podcast, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't have a headset, didn't have a microphone, didn't have lights, right? I thought, oh, it's not going to be good. And I took a long time to finally get the confidence to get started. And then as I continued, I was focusing on fine-tuning my podcast, making small tweaks, asking different questions, working on my opening, working on my closing, right? So I started to have better focus. And then my discipline came in when I was able to stick to a calendar, and I was sticking to week by week. Then it became twice a week. Now it's almost 3 times a week, where I have that discipline to stay on task, to stay on my challenge, to stay on the journey. And I'm committed to bringing a powerful podcast each and every time. I'm committed to bringing powerful guests that have, information that's going to motivate, inspire, and educate. And that commitment to those things is what brings me back one more time. I have confidence in what I'm doing, and I continue through those steps. So that's my lesson for today. And if there are any questions or any comments related to that, I would love to hear your thoughts on that from our 3 on the panel today.
I had to unmute, but boom. What can I tell you? I think that's it, buddy. Here's my thought. You're talking and I'm saying, wow, Jason just hit upon something huge. What if corporations started every new hire with breaking a board and teaching them that they need to follow through in order to move further with their career. Jason, you and I are going to have to create a company, my friend. I think we just have a business opportunity right here, because when you think about a breakthrough, that's what it's about. Listen, we went to school, we got our training, we did all these different things. We go into this brave new world not knowing what to expect. But if we can break through the fear, break through all the things that are holding us back, including ourselves, our doubt, our misconceptions, our misguided ideas of even the job we're going to be doing, and we can break through, and not only, but can we do this in a corporate setting where, by the way, you're going to start working next week, but we want to see you break through, and you're going to be trained, and this is your coach. That would be a tremendous avenue that any business can take. And so thank you. That was an incredible share, my friend.
Well, thank you. You know, it was kind of cool because yesterday I went and I was able to speak in a high school classroom, talking with the senior class about entrepreneurship and starting a new business. And I've done this. This was the 4th year in a row that I had been invited back, and I finished my presentation, and I went back to the teacher and I asked her for some feedback, and she said, "You know what I was missing? I missed the board breaking." Because I was all out of boards and I didn't bring boards to the classroom. And apparently she had kind of hyped it up to the kids too. So I was like, oh man, I'm never going to another presentation without a board again, because that must have made an impact. So
just a quick word of advice. Carry a bunch of rebreakable boards. Right?
Yeah. And maybe insurance.
In a glove, maybe, so they don't get cut, when they break.
Yeah, so what I also loved about the focus is it tells us about the power of visualization, because when you focus and you visualize that you can actually do it, right, Jason, then it becomes easier. And it also reminds me of some talks that I did for students in the past, a few years ago now, who were so amazed by what they could create in their minds if they just really focused on creating it in their minds first, right? So this idea is still new to a lot of people. And I think for me, the most important piece of it all was the focus piece. I'm always a little bit hesitant to dive too deep into the discipline piece, because it's the hardest for me. It's the hardest for me. So I can be very disciplined because I have to as an entrepreneur, for sure, but it's not the easiest part, because I like to start a lot of new things sometimes. As I have all these different ideas. I think it happens to a lot of people, and we want to start something new already again. And so the discipline piece is really important to me. But I loved, how you described the focus. So thank you.
Yeah.
If everybody had discipline, I think everybody would have the level of success that they wanted, right?
Yeah, for sure. If we do the right things with our discipline also, because we can have discipline and do the wrong things as well that do not really lead us to success. It's like, you can be busy all day, you can work 24 hours a day, but never get anywhere if your action is not inspired and effective action and focused action and aligned action. So again, we have the focus and the alignment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And I think it's interesting about discipline, because I notice when people are writing, they'll sometimes make a goal that they have to write every single day. I think that's setting people up for some disappointment, because the chances that someone will write every single day the rest of their life is a little bit small. If you're out there hiking a mountain, it could be done, but it might be harder. So instead of doing that, I suggest people adjust goals. But also, if you do say something like, I'm going to have movement every day instead of, say, working out every day, which might require traveling to a gym. But if you say movement, it can kind of take the pressure off, and you still do your necessary workouts per week, but you also might take a walk, or maybe you go hiking with the dog, or maybe you climb a mountain that day, or you just do something different. It just allows people more spaciousness, I guess, in terms of how they get that done. And then also, if they miss a day or two, forgiveness is a huge element of discipline as we're trying to make a habit. Instead of just being like, oh, I missed 2 days, I'm done. Just be like, oh, I missed 2 days and now I'm going to get started again. It's just about reframing how people think about it. And I think if people were able to easily reframe when they fall off the wagon and just get back on the wagon quickly, instead of dwelling in the fact that they fell off the wagon, it would allow more people to achieve that discipline. Because that over time, you'll just start to do it more. You'll start to miss fewer days, and it's less pressure in getting to that goal that you had for yourself.
Yeah, I love that actually. I love that because I think self-compassion is something that we all need to practice much more of. It actually can keep us more on track sometimes than when we're over harsh and mean with ourselves, because then we judge ourselves too harshly and we don't believe in ourselves as much anymore. So that also that's why discipline is a tough one. It's an important one, but it's tough. It's tough.
It is. Slowly create a habit, right? One simple step at a time. Jason, I got to tell you, you did a phenomenal job. But I want to tell you, I want to show you guys who he was covering for. So Jason is covering for Jose. Let's take a look at what Jose has to say.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Yeah, great stuff always. And, you know, I just love Jose's voice. He's got such a great voice.
I don't know, the two of you on the same show with those voices.
Yeah.
I'm very calm. You know that. I've been doing martial arts for 48 years, and it's just calm. You know, I don't need to fight. I like to fight. Actually, that's one of my favorite things to do. But, you know, it's fight and hug, right? So I like to hug and fight. So that's how I like to fight. What is one thing that you would say that, I'm not going to go into the what now, but that you had a different, like a quick perspective change for you today? I'm going to ask all three of you.
I'll start off. I think for me, it was thinking about discipline in relationship to forgiveness and self-compassion. That was just really interesting to have that come out of the conversation. So thanks, guys. I love it.
Yeah, beautiful. Regina?
Yes, I was thinking back at when I wrote my book to Deborah's presentation today, and you know, everything that everybody else said is actually applicable to that situation, because again, it's a discipline, but I started out with a hybrid option of just taking a few days off of the rest of work and going to a different location, starting to write. And a lot of what I wrote then actually went into the trash can, but I needed to get that process started first. And then I did the everyday a half hour approach that you also suggested, Deborah, as one possible approach. And in all of this, of course, yes, you need focus, you need discipline, you need the self-compassion, you need to believe in yourself and that people actually find it worth reading what you're putting on the paper or on your computer, right? And at the same time, also, you need to stay calm, as Sifo Raphael said, you need to stay calm in the process, because otherwise ideas cannot flow.
Beautiful. Jason, your thoughts.
Yes, sir. So as I was listening to Deborah, I have had so many of my friends that are writing books and have written books, and a lot of talk about writing books. But the one thing that you said that really stuck out to me is that not everyone has to write a book, and because I felt some extra pressure being surrounded by so many people that have written books that I love to read, and I'm loving the books that I am reading. I have not taken that step to make the decision to write just yet, although I know I would like it to be in my future. It's just that now is not that time. So just to hear you say that, I felt like, whew, I could breathe a little bit. I don't have to write like a little bit. But your steps really, the steps that you gave today really helped to kind of streamline my thought process, because every time I sit down to think about what do I want to write about, what do I want to convey, what do I want their transformation to be at the end of reading this book, I'm still working through that part. Because sometimes when I tell stories, I like to tell stories, but I want to tell a story that's impactful, that would be life-changing for someone, not just read about some karate guy that did some pro wrestling.
Right. Definitely.
Wow, that is so amazing. Can I just pick that idea up, Jason? Because I've actually also been working on another book. And one of the reasons is because people always tell me, well, you have all those adventures and they have to go into a book. And the first book was not about that, right? It was about some practical tools and tips and whatnot. So this time around, what's really missing still is, again, the focus. Like, what is the transformation? What do I want to do with those stories? Because just to tell the story without like that red thread that goes through them and that idea that goes through them is not really that valuable. Why would anybody read them? So that's really awesome. Yeah. I'm in that same boat a little bit.
I have to agree with all of you, but here's my one take.
Okay.
I think we all have to write a book for our legacy, to leave to our grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren, even if it's never published, but they have something to know us by. Because I wish my great-grandfather lived to be 113 years old. I wish I would have known what he did every day. I wish I would have known what his story was like, not just hearsays, but in his own writing. That would have been an incredible read. Maybe just for me. Maybe my siblings could have cared less. But if there's one person that you can touch with your story, man, that's powerful. That's my take. So Jason, don't write for anybody, but write for your great-great-great-grandchildren. They want to know about that wrestling day. They want to know about your first board break, or if somebody got hurt when they broke a board because, they hit silly or whatnot. It's those moments that sometimes we take them for granted and we don't share them. Right? I ask you all, now what?
I'm going to go dancing.
I love it. I love it. Thank you all for being here today. What an incredible show. Incredible guest, incredible co-host today. You guys are exceptional. Thank you for making my afternoon incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you all for allowing me to be here with you. It's been awesome company, I have to say.
I agree. All right, everybody, make it a great one. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Jason is coming back. And guess who's coming? Chris Casamassa.
All right.
Yes.
Let's go.
Chris Casamassa, for those of you who don't know who he is, He was the actor Scorpion in the original Mortal Kombat. He's been a stunt double for Batman. He's been in other movies. Actually, at the end of this month, I'm going to go see a movie that he's in. I'm doing a private screening, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So come back 2 weeks from now, the 22nd, and we are going to have another great show. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Have yourself an
Bye, guys.
exceptional day.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.